Lesson 23. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. The idea of today contains the only way out of fear that will ever succeed. Nothing else will work, everything else is meaningless. But this way cannot fail. Every thought you have makes up some segment of the world you see. It is with your thoughts, then, that we must work if your perception of the world is to be changed. If the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. There is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of changing because it is merely an effect. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Here, you are changing the cause. The effect will change automatically.
The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. Each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. It's not fantasy a better word for such a process, and hallucination a more appropriate term for the result.
You see the world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For wherein is the world you see when its cause is gone? Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. Loveliness can lie to your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they are made of hate, for you will not be making them alone. 5.
Okay, the idea for today introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see, because its cause can be changed. This change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go, so that it can be replaced. The first 2 steps in this process require your cooperation. The final one does not. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first 2 steps, you will see that this is so.
Besides using it throughout the day, as the need arises, 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. As you look about you, repeat the idea slowly to yourself first, and then close your eyes and devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts as occur to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about.
Hold each attack thought in mind as you say this, and then dismiss that thought and go on to the next. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. These effects are exactly the same, because they are exactly the same. You do not recognize this as yet, and you are asked at this time only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We are still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally learn that thoughts of attack and of being attacked is not different, you will be ready to let the cause go.
This is it's absolutely beautiful lesson.
What can I just
Yes,
ask?
please
What
do.
were the 2 steps that they were talking about then?
I think it introduces that you are not trapped, the change, because first the cause be identified and then let go so it can be replaced. So the cause be identified. So the change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go so that it can be replaced. I would say that the cause is the attack thoughts. That they be, I would say that this is, that the cause of all suffering is attack thoughts. That be recognised. And for me, the first two steps, I think it's basically that attack thoughts be recognised, and the willingness, the internal willingness to do the lesson. It's not that the ego then suddenly removes the thing, but it's grace. You see, the last step is not taken by the individual, but there is grace comes in.
So they're just seeing that we are the cause of their attack thoughts.
Well, we are the cause. I mean, the ego and its interest in holding thoughts create the whole world of duality and a seeming the world is attacking me and I have to defend myself and attack the world back kind of world that the ego tends to live in, populated by fear and separation. Yes? Are you with me?
I think so. I was just thinking perhaps it's that we are the creator of our attack thoughts, creating the world. You know, that's the effect, and then we're the cause of it. And the willingness for the attack thought to be removed. Is that right?
For each individual, you could say that the whole world is just a perception of their own individual thoughts. So the thoughts are, like I described with Hawkins' work, it's like at the lower vibrations, it's like there's huge amounts of suppressed or repressed feelings, and the whole, it's like it creates like a set of dark sunglasses. So it's like, and all of the thoughts tend to imbue, like for example at a certain level, a fearful world or an angry world, where it's like every individual is seen to be threatening, or every individual seems to be fearful, or the world tends to be fearful. So it's like the thoughts and the energy field around it is projecting a seeming reality that's occurred. And so it's like the world is just, the perceived world for the individual is just like the Course is saying, it's like a hallucination of the thoughts being held in mind. As the thoughts are released, it's like, and the suppressed feelings are released, then as it starts to say, a new world starts to emerge where even the images. Now, my interpretation of this is this whole world is an illusion, but as you let go and start to forgive, it seems like even the images that were born of separation and fear and attack seem to now be lighted up with love. So like even what was seen before as a person full of fear or danger or whatever, now at a certain point they seem to be lovable, and everything seems to be lovable. So that still for me is within the world of dualistic illusion, but now we're getting into the fields of love, you know.
So how do you, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. How do you give up the attack thoughts? You
just do the lesson. You see, it's like
by just saying that again and again.
Yeah, that's it. You know, just the willingness to just, we'll do it together in a moment. To do that then allows for, if you like, the action of grace, just the willingness, internal willingness, just to say the lesson as it says. Now, it's not the ego that releases the thoughts, but just the willingness to do that. Some grace intervenes just through that simple action, which is the last step, which is not taken by the ego.
Well, it can't be the ego that releases it, because it's the ego that's creating it.
That's right. Good.
Yeah.
So just the willingness. So that's all we have to do. Just to do the lesson, and the roots of illusion will be removed.
It's kind of similar to a line as well that says all thought creates form of some on some level.
Yeah. This is what this is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So at a very advanced level, that's very advanced. Actually, just to hold a thought, then you're suddenly into a perceived world where duality exists. So
Don't mind facts.
Just to hold some thoughts. The whole world of perceptual form and separation already exists. So these are very high levels. You know, in the beginning you're just going to be letting go of your resentment against, you know, your mother or something. So all thoughts, you could say all thoughts are attack thoughts on a certain level. When you get to very advanced levels, you know, that there's a me that's separate from you. If I have a thought, there's a me separate from you, you could say that's an attack thought.
Okay.
You see, or that there is a future, you could say is an attack thought, or there is a past, or there is a me that is an identity, or there's a me that needs something, or that is dependent on something. These are all, you could say, attack thoughts. Or that I can die, or that there is something to be afraid of. It's also, you could say that's also an attack thought. So every thought, but in the beginning it's going to be obvious which are the big ones to work on, and later on you're going to let go of higher layers of the onion. And then eventually, as Demetra said, you realize that thoughts are creating form and duality. And that then opens up the doorway to the realization of an enlightenment, that you're beyond any form of form or location or identity.
Okay.
Yeah?
Again, you know, since we create the world we see,
Yes.
I can see that getting rid of small attack thoughts, like, you know, my credit card bill was high, or I didn't get that job, and I think I'm particularly good at it.
Yes.
But I told you about watching the video of the baby crying for its dead mother.
Yes.
Well, why am I creating that? That's kind of attacking me, really, because I sobbed for ages and I still can't get the vision out of my head. You know, it just seems, why on earth did we create those thoughts?
What I mean, like lesson 14 of the Course in Miracles says, some of them are our individual thoughts, and some of them stem from the created collective.
Right.
That is manifesting forth.
Yeah.
They're all, for me, just whether you say it's the individual or the group manifest of thoughts that create the shared illusion.
Yeah.
Now, for me, anyone who's on a spiritual path, images and thoughts and situations will arise for purification.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the divine orchestration that starts to happen for the thing. I mean, you know, I wanted to share that. So it's going to happen. You know, every image that can be meaningful or interesting or requires forgiveness, whichever way you want to say it, will come forth. Because if there's still an attraction for that image, or there's an unforgiveness related to it, or there's a projected meaning in it, it has the capacity to stay within the consciousness and to keep repeating, and then to create a kind of a disconnect from a more higher vibration. So they come up. So whichever lesson you use, it's like this lesson, this image or this movie has now got the power to like stick in the consciousness, and that is like a call from the spirit, you know, to use whichever lesson seems intuitively appropriate to process the release of that, so that one can go to a higher vibration, and then so for example, to pray for a miracle to see the situation differently, or to pray to see peace in the situation instead of what you now see, or to realize that your thoughts about it, which keep coming back, are meaningless. They're as meaningful as a glass of water. So these are just, for me, they're all the same thing. They are just ways of releasing. Now, my own view is that there's no use to be in anger and fear, or sadness or grief for longer than necessary when these images come in, because it's like the call for the spirit is just to release, to let go, to surrender, to forgive, or to let go of the meaning, so it no longer blocks the spiritual connection to your true authentic self. Now,
Sorry, and ultimately we don't know what anything is for anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Including now, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I agree.
Yeah.
Like I said before, for me there is a divine purpose to the whole, even though some things seem extremely bad or wrong. For me, that the whole, like, birth in the physical body, like, and the ascended masters who just suddenly release everything to the will of God, for that it's seen at a certain point that there is some kind of divine meaning that's being played out in this particular...
Yeah, they seem to be realised, like Muji or Mr. Dada or any of these people. That's what's bothering me wouldn't bother them.
No, it doesn't bother them. There's no them to bother for it to bother. And
That is not them. That is so good.
no, they're not.
That is good, Sabbir. That is not them to bother.
Not them to bother,
This is good, Sabbir.
Well,
But it's true, when if anything arises as a thought, there's nobody to purchase, there's no them to be
there's
bothered,
no-
so it's irrelevant.
I mean, this can then sound very, very heartless from a certain point of view. I would say, in defence of that, what I said is that I think, was it, what's the guy in the prison, the Hawaiian guy, what's his name again? Dr. Hugh Len.
Oh, Dr.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Hugh Len. So, I mean, the course for me is the pathway of the mystic. Don't change the world, change the thoughts within.
Right.
You see, and Dr. Hugh Len is the pathway of the mystic, or self-inquiry is the pathway of the mystic.
Yeah.
There's another pathway, which I'd say is the pathway of selfless service, which is another authentic pathway. But this is a different pathway. It's the pathway of the mystic, which is just a different pathway to God. And so it's like with Dr. Hugh Len, like it's a famous story. It's like, you know, he's not really bothered in going and talking to the individuals,
No.
and you know, or interacting with them particularly. He's not really interested. He just wants to change his thoughts of what he's perceiving and let them go. You see, but this is for me the great power of the unseen. You see, everyone thinks in terms of going out there and telling them to change their ways, or showing them love, or how to forgive. But the pathway of the mystic, which is basically related to this course, so I was reading it yesterday, is that just change your thoughts of what you're perceiving and let them go. So as he changed his inner thoughts and let them go through forgiveness, you see, you know, the whole prison, as everyone knows here, most people know here, the whole prison left and got well.
Yeah.
You see, so there was no sort of action orientation to the process of mystic. But even though they're part of the collective, the power of him releasing those unhealed thoughts, which I would say were there in the collective, was powerful enough to actually, because they're part of the collective hallucination, to heal them.
Yeah.
Just by releasing the thoughts within him, without any, because it doesn't make logical sense. To most people it would be like, go out into the prison and teach them forgiveness so they can let go. But he didn't even go that far, just went within the realm of his own thoughts.
Yeah.
So also, even though it's a collective shared expression, the power of someone letting their thoughts and healing the collective is enough to heal the collective, if that makes sense. So, so that's the power, and that's for me the thing with the TM meditation thing, where they just got, I think, approximately, it's online, 4,000 individuals in Washington to do TM, and the crime rate went down 20 to 40%, the violent crime rate in a major city. And that's just people sitting down doing nothing. But to the power to affect the collective is enormous. So I thought this lesson was brilliant.
Dimitri, didn't you say that Dr. Lin doesn't travel anymore?
No.
Oh no, wasn't
He doesn't do workshops anymore.
He doesn't do workshops anymore. No, but does he say that you can tune into his energy at all, or?
No, but what he does, if you sign up for one of the workshops, he still works on you from the moment you start. he apparently works on you too. He clears himself, actually, that's what he does. He doesn't,
shouldn't he be
in a
able
way, he
to do that without a workshop?
Sorry?
Shouldn't you be able to do that, since he is one with me, that I can reach his energy without signing up to some workshop?
You don't have to sign up to the workshop. He doesn't do the workshops.
Oh,
If you want to further it, to use it for your own purpose,
Yeah.
you can.
yeah,
You can.
yeah. So it's not really tuning into him individually then?
No,
No,
I
no.
don't think so somehow.
No.
Do we do?
To use it on. It does actually say all your thoughts are meaningless. And for me, it is kind of like... So, at a certain level, it's realized that every thought is meaningless. Every thought could be perceived as blocking off, can be perceived as an attack thought that is blocking off the ultimate realization and is holding one into a dualistic, into a me perceiving other over there type of world, you see. So you don't have to at each year you do it, each year I've done it, you'll gravitate to a different meaning of what it means. So in the beginning, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do it. You know, you'll just filter out what's necessary for you at that time in that sequence. So you'll understand attack thoughts. Later on, you'll get to. So you don't have to use that as an attack thought in the beginning. But you can see any thought. When you get to more advanced levels, any thought is blocking you off, even if you could say from presence. You know, right now, to be totally present, if you were to hold any thought about anything and pay it significant attention to it, it will give it meaning. You could say it's an attack on your presence, couldn't you?
I mean, I suppose any single moment, you know, when there's discontentment, there's always something that's in conflict.
Yes.
So maybe that is like an attack.
Yes.
Because even when something is going well, you know, and then, you know, you can find something wrong with that. Grass is never green, you know, enough. So that can be an attack on the present moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You could say if any thought about anything is an attack on the present moment.
I think for me, I just probably need to keep it simple. You know.
Yeah, you don't have to get it at that level.
Yeah,
you just
you
use
know.
it on whatever seems intuitively correct.
Yeah, I mean, if I just sort of like, okay, so attack thought is essentially any thought,
Yes.
simple.
Yes.
You know, just keep it simple. So I can escape from the world I see by giving up the attack thought. So the thought that's creating what I'm seeing.
Yes. Yeah, you could say that the thought, any thought is, you can use the word thoughts are blocking you off from your true nature. It's not that the thoughts block you off from your true nature, it's just the interest. If you, I mean, any thought which is meaningless doesn't really block you off from your true nature. Because you can't, you know, like, if I suddenly had a thought that the pillow is red, it doesn't really do anything to me.
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of stories as well, like, you know, the meaning that we give to something. Like I have a family member who indulges quite a lot in their past, you know,
Yes.
like stories and that make them appear like, I don't know, I could be just assuming, you know, but I get that impression that they love the stories, you know.
Yes.
It's just a bunch of thoughts that gives them pleasure, but then I'm guilty of the same thing, you know, but I just think, so it's not that, it's like giving up any of the thoughts in any moment. You know.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the past, it could be in the moment,
Yes.
you know, just uncomfortable or fearful or cold or, you know, whatever, even happy, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
just, so is it like just staying neutral? Is it to, like, yeah, I suppose it's not good to have an aim, is it?
It's not good to have an aim.
Yeah.
It's generally, the general principle is always that there's a few things, like until you let go of something, you don't know how much freedom you're going to get until you're on the other side. So, if there is a grievance against a family member, there is no, and that grievance has always been there. There will be no recognition. There is no idea of what it would be like to be free of it. It's only when you're on the other side that you suddenly realise it was a good idea. You see, so the layers of the ego, like someone who's in fear all the time, you know, it's like there's a whole collection of thoughts how good it is to be in fear. You know, there'll be thoughts like fear keeps you alive. Without fear, life would be even worse. Without trying to control things, things would go even in a more damaging way. In fact, my thinking and my being in fear all the time is a good thing.
The beliefs, you mean?
They're all beliefs, yeah.
Yeah.
And they sort of, and there's also, with each ego level, whether it be fear or anger or pride, there is, it seems very, very good to indulge in that, you see. So there's a lot of self-justification, and there's also an unknown aspect of not knowing what it'd be like to be without those things, you see. So it's all hypothetical. What would happen if you let go of all your fear and all your control? Until you've done it, it's hypothetical. But people who've done it will say it's worth doing, yeah? Because if, you know, for someone in the beginning, if you say let go of fear and addiction, they'll say, well, life won't be worth living. If you, I mean, I love my cream cakes every day, and I love being angry. I mean, everyone's wrong, and I'm right, of course. So I should keep my anger and be justifiably right about everything. So it's very threatening to release it. So only someone who's gone before will say it's worth releasing. But there'll be all these things like you'll be a boring nobody, or you won't exist if you do that. Or you're going to be like a robot, or you won't be able to do your shopping any longer. If you, I need to be afraid to know what's going to be in the fridge for tomorrow. If I have no fear, I'm just going to sit on the bed and nothing will happen. All of these thoughts will come up. So I forgot, what was your question again?
I don't know. We were on a very interesting tangent.
Okay.
But it was a good. Like I was getting drawn into what you were saying actually.
It's okay.
It's a good lesson, yeah.
Can't remember if it comes back.
It's good. It's good. You can't remember. But what I want to say is, like, there's great fear in releasing each chunk of the ego, and always the same questions come up, like, you know, I won't exist, or it'll be even worse, or I won't be able to do my shopping, or I'll be boring and I'll lose all my friends, or something will come up. And it's only those who have gone before that say it's worth it.
So the attack thoughts can also be the beliefs, basically. That
Attack
you're
thoughts
holding.
are beliefs.
They are beliefs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So obviously those beliefs you know, one can take on in your mind from, you know, past experiences, family, you know, environment, society, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, there's sometimes some situations that, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm in a different world. I feel like I'm going mad, you know, because like out there it's just, or sometimes some conversations I have with, you know, and yeah, I just find it a bit difficult, you know, like I'm thinking this way, I'm trying to think this way and undo the way I'm thinking, but the, you know, out there is just, you know, like I don't want to agree with those stories and the beliefs that, you know, and so, you know, I can say I can escape from those stories and those beliefs and, you know, from the world I'm seeing, rather than being angry with the world I'm seeing, just unhook myself or be willing to be unhooked from that world that I'm seeing, which is making me feel tired and angry, you know, because I think, oh God, you know, I'm going mad because I'm not getting fulfillment from the worldly things, you know, and habits. So by giving up the belief, the attack thought with the belief of what they're believing, their belief. Yeah.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
you let go of your
it's
program.
like people pleasing, you know.
Yes.
Just saying something to, you know, because everybody else does it, so I have to be included. And no, I don't want to do that, you know. I want to be true and honest and, you know, so maybe giving up the belief that I have to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, you don't.
Something. And then be willing to be unpopular or different, which is hard. You know?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's hard if you're, especially if you're in a work situation, because I encountered that every day. So it's kind of, you know, yes.
It's like
I think
gossip.
you learn, yes.
Yeah, like you don't want to gossip,
No.
and other
Yeah.
people are gossiping, and so give it up the attack thought or the belief that you have to gossip. To obviously gossip is not good, but you know, to be or to say or behave in a certain way, to be, you know, because I experience a lot of fear sometimes just being and just speaking up,
Yes.
you know, and I don't, you know, I don't want to ridicule myself for that, but you know, I want to escape that fearful world that I'm perceiving, you know, that it's not okay for me to speak up, or you know, or that I have to feel shame for having a voice, you know. And so, I don't know, I'm creating the thoughts of that, you know, world.
Yes. Mike, you want to say something?
I just want to say, you know, but whatever the course is saying, really, or whatever we're saying, it's so much contrary to what the conversation is out there in the world, really. It's so much the opposite, especially if I, you know, in a work situation. I mean, I experience all this all the time. You know, it's kind of this group of people that like gossiping, and you know, a couple of us that, you know, it's kind of don't take part in this. You know, it's kind of almost like, you know, you just keep out of, you know, all that. You know, so kind of you really need to have some kind of integrity doing the work yourself, really. And I think it's okay. If I'm not popular, that's fine by me. But and I just kind of, you know, I don't have to
The other thought I
to
had,
engage in all this, you know, just because everyone else does. Yes, they think I'm different, but they do, you know, and that's fine by me. You know, we don't have to be all carbon copies, really, do we? It's okay. It's just it's all this kind of pleasing, you know, that we want to be liked. It's something within us as well, really. That we want to be liked, we want to be included.
so in a way it's like undoing the thoughts, the attack thought that's creating that, but it doesn't mean that those things are not going to exist. They may still very well exist, but just because our perception changes doesn't mean that we're perceiving it not happening. Does that make sense? So
Well, yeah, one of the most powerful things for me is to realize, and this is what I often do when I talk about self-inquiry, is that events only have the power to have an effect depending on the projected meaning that has been given to the event. Like, I'll give you an example. And my own thing is to more focus on clearing my own perceptions than to intervene in the world. And the intervention in the world just happens spontaneously, but I'm more interested in just clearing my thoughts. That's my own take on it. Meaning, the most powerful thing for me is that events don't occur or have more or less zero effect when the meaning has been taken out of them. Okay, so now this can be seem very radical, but I share about it all the time in the room, which was that some weeks back, many weeks back, you know, I was talking, and then I mentioned the traffic noise outside, and then I think my perception was that most people weren't hearing the traffic noise until I said there is traffic noise outside, in which, in the same instance, like, we all heard the traffic noise outside. So that's one of the things, you see. So really, you could say in a certain context, there is actual traffic noise outside, but a whole room of people cannot actually hear any traffic noise outside. You see? Yeah, you've experienced that as well. You sometimes, when there's no interest or projected meaning on any external phenomena, to all intents and purposes it doesn't exist, even if it's there. Yeah? Like, you know, like if you move into a new house and there's like, if you come from the countryside and move into a new house and there's traffic every day, in the beginning it would be like, it could drive you mad because of all the noise outside. But after a while, you may find that you don't actually hear the noise outside. Yeah, this is a very common phenomenon. So now you could argue there is actual noise outside, and there are cars zooming past. But for the individual inside, who's lived there for a while, actually in their own perception, no noise exists. They're in dead silence. Okay.
Isn't that just because, is that either because there's a shift in focus, or like from the external to the internal, or is that because they've given up the meaning to any thought?
A good question.
And then they've gotten to that state of peace.
You know, at the highest level, focus doesn't exist. You see, so the Course says only love is real, and the truth is actually beyond form. So now the ego thinks its separation is the truth. Yeah. So I am the center of the universe, and it's my shift in focus that can change the universe, but I still exist. Yes? In reality, as you let go of meaning or projected meaning or interest on different aspects of the belief systems, greater peace and love and presence and expansion starts to occur, which is actually the dissolving of the I, and the recognition of the true state, which is actually the truth, and the world that is being manufactured out of the projected belief systems is actually the illusory world. Okay, so when you let go, you're hooking into different types of thoughts. You start to feel greater peace and love and expansion and unity, and a loss of a separated individual self trapped in a body. That starts to disappear. That's not a shift in focus of the I. That is actually a dissolving of all belief systems and the experiencing of the ultimate truth. Yes? Because the way you frame the question, it's like the I just needs to shift its focus, and the I is the center of the whole universe. But the Course is like, the Course is dissolving all beliefs which are the components of an I doing anything. So you could say your ego is dissolving. An ego that's very interested in noise will hear a lot of noise, which gives a lot of meaning. When you dissolve those thoughts out, then there's greater peace. That peace is actually the dissolving of the ego I, and now the recognition of the truth. Is that clear?
So the I is the ego.
Yes.
And so when the I dissolves,
Yes.
ego dissolves. And
yes.
that, so there's no shift in focus, because what I was saying was, well, incorrectly, like just the going from one I to another
Yes.
I. So I was thinking going from the I identifying with the noise outside to I identifying with
The I is cleverly making a shift in focus.
yeah.
But
I don't know what I was getting at actually. Yeah.
which is normal.
Yeah.
Because the I always wants to retain control.
Yeah.
If I said that the I is actually dissolving, that's very fearful. You see, oh, I can manipulate the whole world by just shifting focus. It's very it sounds very seductively nice.
But there's still an element of control, and control is just based in fear.
Yes, that's right.
So to eliminate, to get rid of that control and that fear, it's like what you're saying, I can escape.
Escape.
Escape
the world. I escape the world I see by letting go of you could say, my thoughts. I escape from the world I see, and you could say I escape
of the noise, the traffic, or
that.
Then even internally the breath, the anxiety, the irritability, all those things that you're sitting with, and then just is it a form of like another way of getting to the what did it call it now? Identification. What did you?
Identification, meaning, interest.
The other process that you do, not
self-inquiry.
Yes, that one. So it's another way of getting behind the I, getting rid of the I.
Yes.
By doing that.
Yes, self-inquiry is another very fast, direct route.
And is this a form of like self-inquiry? Because essentially, if you're giving up your thoughts, you're getting rid of the I connected to whatever it is.
I mean, for me, the Course is a lot slower and more dualistic.
Okay.
and takes you by the hand, takes the ego, like its dualistic reality is true, and you can start to forgive. You know, there's a you that is forgiving other individuals. It starts off and agrees with your reality that the illusory world is the real world, and it gently takes you through 365 lessons. Eventually it tells you that we're going towards the formless, and actually in reality there's nothing to forgive. So it's taking you in a much more slow, gentle path. Whereas self-inquiry is like, you know, slams you into like, this is like, your truth is non-dual. And if not, let's quickly get rid of it. Let's quickly clarify why you're trapped in a dualistic perception. So it's more of a slow, gradual path.
So there is
self-inquiry.
Sorry. So there is no me and the traffic, or
No.
the annoyance and me, or the breath even and me, and there's something behind all of that, the observing part.
Yes, so this takes you very, you're quite right. So it takes you to the path which is the ultimate. Even the Course talks about it in subtle ways. Something beyond time, something beyond space, something beyond form, something beyond any form of limitation or separation. So, you know, you can do 365 lessons, or self-inquiry is like, you know, what's hooking into time, what's hooking into space, what's hooking into noise, what's hooking into all thought, what's hooking into a me being located here and a you over there, what's located into anything thinking, you see. So something is here which is observing thought.
Even as you say that, like I was listening to you, and there's been moments where I'm like, oh, really but I'm aware of the ego, the fear, like I can feel it, you know. It's like in and out. It's like, you know, it's almost like a frightened little child or something. Like, can I trust? Can I not? Can I trust? You know, just to slip into the behind that, you know. Like,
so there's fear now. Do you want to do some self-inquiry?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's...
So like, you know, there's moments of where I'm listening and, you know, but then there's fear holding back of some sort. It's just here. Like, and then I feel like it's controlling here. Like it's almost like pushing me back rather than, you know, embracing, like a forward action embracing or something. I don't know if that makes sense. But,
so there's fear here and there's thoughts.
Yeah, it's like, you know, surrender is just away from fear, and it feels like this fear is not allowing me to surrender to love, to life, to being, to whatever it is, you know, other than that, you know.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So is that, so there's fear and there's thoughts, yeah? Okay. Now, fear is something that can be here or not be here. You know, just like see, there's probably been at least one time in your whole life when fear wasn't there. Yeah. Even if it was for 1 second, that fear wasn't there, and that fear is here now. Okay. So it's something that can be here, or not be here, or be here in a mild way, or be here in an intense way. Yeah. So it's something that is. So there is something here which is able to observe no fear, some fear, or lots of fear, which is not fear. And okay, there can be a lot of thoughts, or there's probably been a time when there's not been a thought in your head, even for a millisecond. And then there's been times when there's been lots and lots of thoughts. So it's okay. I mean, let the thoughts be there. Yeah? If there's some fear here, you know, let it be there. But anything that can come and go, it's like an eyeball. If you know, there has to be an observer of something that is here and then is not here and then is here and then passes. Yes? Because if suddenly, like, I bring a red pillow in front of you, you're not the red pillow. The red pillow is an object. Yeah. Because first there was no red pillow, and then I hold a red pillow up in front of you, and then I take it away. So there has to be an observer that suddenly there's no red pillow. I mean, then there's a red pillow and then it's gone. Yeah. Because there can be confusion. If there's a red pillow in front of you, I am the red pillow.
Yeah.
That can be a common confusion because there's a red pillow there. No, you're not the red pillow because, you know, you are the observer of the object that was not there and is here and is gone.
See, even as you give that example,
Yes.
I can feel that thing again, you know, that whatever energy, it's like
Yeah.
attachment to the red pillow or fear, you know, it's just, yeah, the nature, I think that's in, like, ego kind of, you know, just fear. I'm feeling aware of that pull.
It's okay. I mean, even if there's a red pillow, yeah, if there's a red pillow, it's okay for the red pillow to be there. It doesn't have to go away. But there is also an observer which is observing the red pillow, which is not the red pillow. Okay? So there's fear there, yeah? So can you go to an observer? It's okay, let the fear be there.
Sure.
You know, just like if I held a red pillow in front of you, you know, and you could let it be there. But, you know, at one moment you can say, oh, it seems to be me. But then actually there can be a recognition that there is an observation of the red. There is an observation of the fear, which is not the fear, which is clearly not the fear. So so let the fear be there. Can you go to the observer of the fear? Or the perceiver?
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like it's up here,
Okay,
looking
good.
down
Okay,
at
good.
the fear.
So there's an observer looking at the fear, looking down. Okay. So now, what are you now in this moment? What are you? What's your experience of you right now?
Like I feel sat around here.
Okay. So there's a location around here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. A location around here is being observed. Yeah. So when there's a location, there's something here which is observing that particular location. Because sometimes a location can be here, sometimes it can be over there, or sometimes it can be diffuse. But there is something here which observes location, which is not location, which can report a location over there, a location over here, and a location over there. So can you go to that which is observing different locations but is not the location? Something that is not located.
See, because I get a sensation now.
Okay,
I
what's
get a
the
sensation, it's like it's going all the way down my spine.
Okay.
Yeah, like the vertebrae. You know, like I can feel it vibrating on either side of the vertebrae, the back and the front.
Okay. So there is the vibration between the vertebrae, yeah? And there is also here, because that wasn't there before, so it's here now. So something is here that is observing or witnessing that vibration. Let the vibration happen, that's fine. But the observer or the witnessing of this vibration is not the vibration. So something is here that is observing or watching this little vibration, but it's actually not the vibration. So can you go, it's okay to let it be there, but can you go to that which is witnessing or observing the vibration, which is actually not the vibration which is here? Because that wasn't here a little while ago. So go to that which is observing.
Feels like a quiet room in the back somewhere.
That's good.
Yeah. I just feel like it's a quiet spot where I can't locate it.
This is good. Okay. Are you limited in any way at this moment?
It feels like it.
Okay. What is there limitation now?
Like,
Yeah.
still remnants of the fear.
Are
It's
you?
almost like
Yes.
that's preventing me from coming out of this quiet space.
The fear is preventing you coming out of a quiet place. Okay, so there's a you and there's a fear, is that right? There's a quiet place and there's a fear. Yep.
I'll close my eyes, see if I can focus. Or a calm something within. And then the fear is actually the external. But, yeah.
So which are you? Are you the peace or the fear?
I feel like the peace trying to get out of the fear barrier.
Okay, something is, okay, this is good. So there's peace and there's fear. Something is observing both the peace and the fear. Yeah, which is not the peace trying to escape the fear. Can you go to that?
I mean, I don't know what the thoughts are, but I feel like the thinking is stopping me. I feel like it's the thoughts that are the trap.
Okay. So that there are thoughts going on.
Mm.
Something is here that is observing all the thoughts, which is not none of the thoughts. So thoughts can be here, or you can let the thoughts be here, but there is observer of all of the thoughts, which is not the thoughts. Can you go to that? Because thoughts can be here, and let them be here, but there's an observer of all the thoughts, which is clearly not the thoughts. Can you go to that observer?
I feel like I'm being lifted.
This is good. So, what's the experience of you now?
Feels like my head's like one of those balloons with helium. Like it's being lifted or something. I feel like an upward motion.
This is lovely. Okay. Is there any form of limitation now?
I'm still aware of the heaviness in the body.
Okay. It's okay if there's awareness of heaviness in the body, but is the heaviness in the body you?
No.
No. Good. Well done. Excellent. So it's okay. If there's a chair in the room, it's not a problem. So is there any experiencing of limitation?
It's the identification with the story that
Okay.
is the limitation.
Yes, very good. So there's something identifying with the story or the thoughts. And there's something which is observing the thoughts without identification, without interest. So there is an observer here. So let the thoughts be here. Can you go to that, the observer of the story or thoughts which has no interest or identification in them?
I feel like I'm stood in space.
Okay, I'm still in space. What is the I that is in space? Is it a thought? Is it a feeling?
Feels like energy.
Okay. This energy is limited?
It feels freer, more liberated and relaxed.
So, in what way is it limited?
It feels separate from the heaviness and all the thinking. It just feels calmer.
It feels separated from the heaviness.
Space.
So is there an I that is having limitation right now?
I don't think so. It feels like...
Okay, then at this point then, drop the thought of I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Consciousness.
Yes. Is there any problem now? Any limitation?
No.
No.
It's separate, but in a good way. Like it's separate from the drama.
This is good. When there's clarity that the drama is not that, it's not a problem. There is no break in limitation.
And it's calm.
Yes. It is calm. It's the truth.
And no need for the stories.
No. In that place actually it's realized there is never a need. In fact, when there's a need for the stories, you recognize a loss in peace.
Yeah. Felt safe. It's like that constant search, but actually it's there all the time, but it's not what I would have thought, you know.
No, it's not a thought, actually. That is there always. It never leaves. So, how can it leave? The interest in the thought. This is very, very simple, but very profound. See, that peace is ever present. In fact, you could say that peace is the truth. The truth, the way, the life. That is the truth, actually. But as soon as a thought is latched onto with interest, then suddenly a whole new world seems to suddenly in that moment be created. There's an I that can be in fear of other. And the whole story starts.
Because as I was doing that, like there were numerous things. First the thought, then sensations, then, you know, stories and thoughts, and then it felt like I was getting further. You asked a question which made me laugh.
Yes.
Which one was that one now? Who is it that, I can't remember. But that seemed to do it for me.
Yes.
Something, I can't remember what that question was now, but who was looking at it or something. And yeah, and actually it's very quiet and calm. There's no need for words or thinking or competition or entering the, you know, dramas of the world, the chaos, what we were talking about earlier. Like I even feel calmer and, you know, like in myself. No need to explain or justify, just a sense of knowing that consciousness
Yes.
was the word that came to mind.
Beautiful.
Space was what I contacted first. Before that, just
Yes.
felt like there was space there. Then I was getting a visual of the calm, the open water, but then I thought even that is an image.
Yes.
That's even the thought.
Well done.
And then behind that is a consciousness.
Yes.
So the consciousness is actually very quiet, I feel.
Yes, it's sometimes referred to as stillness, formless, beyond time, beyond space, beyond any thought, beyond any duality, beyond any fear, beyond location, beyond anything of the changeful. It can never change, it's eternally constant, and is the source of everything.
But that is the place that the Course is referring to.
Yes, that is the place. For me, self-inquiry and the Course. Even though the Course leads you very gently, and then eventually tells you let it all go. But it's beyond all form, beyond all separation, beyond time, beyond form, beyond even a me that needs to forgive a you, beyond all that. And it says that only love is real. And for me that love is formless and is beyond separation. And the ego wants to somehow retain it, but it's the dissolving of the ego, which then allows that experience, which is the truth, to emerge. But the truth is not a hallucination of the ego. The truth is the truth. The ego is the hallucination.
I think it's really useful to try and practice self-inquiry throughout the day, because you know, even when I left here last week I felt wonderful, and then I went to work and you know, things got triggered and difficult personalities and everything, and you know, I won't go into that, but it's amazing how quickly the peace just went, you know. So it's not about changing them or the attack, or you know, maybe it's surrendering the attack thoughts that are perceiving that, you know, and just finding a quiet space maybe where I can go and do self-inquiry, and who is it that's, you know, perceiving, because actually this is wonderful, like, you know, we can, you know, you mentioned the world in Syria, the war in Syria, and you know, lots of world wars wars are going on, or even disputes and you know, things like that, and a smaller level, like, you know, but then there's always something, discontentment, and but we can't, you know, change the outer. We have to always change within, you know, like
our inner thoughts and perceptions.
Like dissolving the I. I love that expression that you used, and the ego and the I, and you know, being synonymous. Being synonymous.
But from the Course's perception, all those, you know, different kind of the words of little grievances, they're all the same.
Yes.
It says there are no hierarchy in illusion. That's what it says, you know, in the ego, you know, but that is in the ego world.
Yes.
You know, there are no, you know, from the perspective of the Course, that's what it says. You know, we think there are.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And that's, I mean, that's it's the pathway of the mystic. But it says there's no order in difficulty miracles. But for me, it's like it's the pathway of the mystic. So it's like, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're letting go of a small thought or a big thought. I mean, that's just a label, a small thought or a big thought. But they all construct the shared illusion, or the personal illusion of hell. Or the dualistic, fear-based, seeming reality of separation. So it's very, very powerful, and that's my preferred route, you know, the pathway of the mystic. So rather than, so my own personal approach, each to his own, but it's not really to try and change the person. My own thing would be more to focus on what's in me and to let those thoughts go, than to tell the person they're wrong. I mean, sometimes something speaks, but for me it's not, that comes out spontaneously. But it's not a manufactured thing, sorry.
No. I mentioned the email I got from my sister, and all kinds of string of events, and you know, they actually made me feel like I can't breathe, but then when I just did this, like I felt free of all of that. You know, just felt like I can breathe again. You know, it's just.
Yes, there's oxygen.
Yeah, that's. You know, and it's wonderful because you know, you can just put things into perspective, and you know, just they are all illusions anyway.
They're all illusions. You know, like I shared, one of the things why I'm so, in fact, I love self-inquiry and the Course, is when I went to see Muji, I had like this huge gout attack. I was like limping with pain. And when he did the self-inquiry and had the white light spiritual experience, it was like all the pain was gone. So in my, you know, on some level you could say that that's a physical reality, that I have a swollen, painful foot. But just to have connecting to the source of the truth was enough to, in a split second, remove the pain. And in fact, it was an autumn day, and when I left, it was a summer's day, because the whole world was illuminated with light, you see. So, like physical ailments disappearing in a split second, the world being illuminated and in bliss. So all of that is by letting go of identification with thoughts, you see, and then contacting the true nature. You see, everything shifts.
Wow.
What happens with you if you're in peace is just interest in thought. It's very, very simple, but the thoughts will hook you in very quickly into a story. You see, you're in sublime peace, and you're not limited in any form, in any way, in any eye, in any thought or any feeling. And then suddenly a thought occurs in a split second, and interest is given to it. These are what I call special thoughts, not meaningless thoughts. If you're in peace right now, and there's a bunch of meaningless thoughts in front of you, there will be no block in peace. But, you see, anything that's within the ego that's still existing, that has interest, will suddenly arise in the world. It could be a mother, it could be a boss, it could be, you know, anything. And when interest is given to that, suddenly the loss occurs. That's all that happens. So it's like, on a certain level, the Course will get you to constant mindfulness, to like check, you know, what's happening, or you self-inquire.
Oh, it's happening again. I'm just getting into it and I have to leave. Like, oh man. Oh, this is just so good. It's just like, you know, actually like, it's like the room will get messy if we don't tidy it again and again. And so the, you know, our minds are like the same. We have to constantly keep sweeping away the meaning.
Exactly.
Getting rid of the meaning.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, like otherwise you're going to have a sink full of dishes and they're never going to be, you know, clean and everything, you know? So, yeah.
The Course did one good thing, which was, you know, in the beginning to get, and I still do it, I have a watch which beeps at me regularly and reminds me, that's it's like you say, the constant, thank you. It's like the constant cleaning of the thoughts, cleaning the thoughts out, or
just use the loo.
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
Quite enjoyable, isn't it?
Sorry? Very. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. I think she got very much into it.
What?
It was great. She got really into it.
I think she got into it, I think unless you get the experience, I think it's so difficult. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. But,
no, and actually what I realized, you know, and I realized actually when I did self-inquiry, you know, when I went to Muji, suddenly the Course, I think my understanding of the Course skipped quite a few kind of, you know, very much so, I must say, my understanding of the Course was kind of at a totally different level. Suddenly the Course made a lot of sense. Although I do love the Course and I prefer the Course, but I can see the incredible value of self-inquiry. I think self-inquiry is quite, is an incredible tool, but it's quite harsh tool.
It's very harsh.
Whereas, as you said, you know, very well said, this is, you know, a gentle way of getting there. I find, you know, self-inquiry, almost I find it quite a very useful tool to use it in my everyday life. It's quite harsh as well.
I agree. It's very.
Oh my God, it can drive your ego.
It's like driving the jugular for the ego.
Completely.
You know, and shaking its reality in 1 minute, sort of.
Yes.
Whereas the Course is for the masses.
Yes.
You know, the masses love the Course in Miracles.
Yes, but the two, I think I can see I can see very much the connection of the two. There's quite a lot of interlink, very much so, between the two, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
And it's great because this kind of, with the self-inquiry, you get the experience of what the Course is talking about.
Yes,
I mean, you get it in other ways through the Course, but actually you get it kind of more quickly in a way.
I think so, They work quite well together, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's great is that, like, if, you know, when people do this work and, you know, you do the self-inquiry and you contact who you really are, you
Yes.
know. And then if, you know, you contact other people who also in that same consciousness,
Yes.
it's just so beautiful, you know.
Yes.
It's really beautiful to contact that, you know, to be on the same page, and
Yeah.
life
Yes.
is very easy that way, you know. It's very challenging the other way, but, you know, it's okay, you know, that's just a thought.
Yes.